Buff Nasty to my right, he's cosplaying as himself, but mainly Mike. Mike is one of the dear friends that I've had that has been one of the cooler people in comics, very knowledgeable. So we're gonna do some Q&A, because right now we're literally at Comic-Con. They finally had an event after 3 years of the pandemic. We couldn't go. They kept rolling over our tickets over and over and over again. So we're waiting till about 5, it's supposed to be 3, but we're gonna kill some time. We're gonna start talking some stuff. So, DC versus Marvel. Mr. House.
Are we talking about comic books, or are we talking about the?
We're keeping it pen and paper, comic books. Let's
Marvel.
keep Marvel. Okay, what makes you pick just Marvel?
Because the DC heroes are too goody-goody, and there's not enough anti-heroes in the DC universe. So I'm kind of an anti-hero, so I like the anti-heroes.
So it's not dark enough for you.
It's not dark enough.
Okay, so if you were to pick one dark character from the darkness that you would pick, who would you pick?
Probably Cannonball. Because his mutant power is to project himself at a high rate of speed at any object without hurting himself.
No doubt.
So basically, he uses his head to kill you.
And who were Cannonball's arch nemesis?
Anyone X Factor fights, probably Mr. Sinister would probably be number one.
Oh, I have heard of Mr. Sinister. He's pretty sinister. No pun intended. So if you were to size up, let's say, a movie versus pen and paper that did it the most canon, what would you say is the best movie that you've seen so far?
I would have to go, I think, 1981 original Conan the Barbarian.
Really? Why? What did they pull from that in order to make it completely canon for you?
Because it's purest to the source material than any other thing in the MC universe.
Right on, right
Even
on.
though Conan is no longer in the MC universe.
Cool. If you could pick one superpower to have out of any universe, DC, Marvel, as we're waiting to get into Comic-Con, because it's like roughly about an hour, folks, we're going to be walking the hall. So tune in for that. We're going to be seeing Buff Nasty walking around in the background, you know, kind of muscling some people from tickets, but mainly Mike House and myself are going to be hosting some like walkarounds. So Mike, what superpower would you pick?
Be a telepath.
Really?
Yes.
And why is that?
I can get those panties to drop easier.
As the likes drop. All right. So moving on to the next best question. Now, if we were a super villain, who would we be?
Each individual person here?
Yeah, if you were to size me, Buff Nasty, and I mean, obviously I would think, you know, Reverse Flash, because you've seen me run around that so many times, but what would you size me up with? What would you self Buff Nasty up with? And what would you size yourself up with?
I would be Dr. Doom.
I can see that.
I would see you as Reverse Flash. I would see you more, maybe Sinestro.
Okay, I'm just gonna reverse the camera real fast. By the way, hi everyone. I know I'm finally back after about like 3 months or so of not being on streaming, but very cool. We're going back to the interview with Mike because he just kills it with comics. So what about Buff Nasty that goes unnamed right now? Because he's just so buff. He's got his own zip code for Nasty.
Joel is Buff Nasty is such a laid-back character. There's not really laid-back villain, but I would say Lex Luthor.
Is it because of the gleam?
Because of the gleam.
Okay. Moving towards like some of the funner things that you've seen as your childhood growing up. What was one of your favorite comic books that you picked up to this day that you can memorize, that you could read 1,000,000 times over and still come back to it as a fun like throwback?
Fantastic Four number 183.
And what happened in 183 that made it so spectacular, as they would say?
Ben Grimm finally had a date with Alicia, and that's what I thought was cool, because remember, Alicia's blind, her dad is Puppet Master, and Ben Grimm is the Thing from the Fantastic Four, so it's kind of a funny dynamic for your dating.
It sounds like it, honestly. That sounds like a one to put on the read list. So, moving past that, we look at graphic novels and we can see definitely Marvel, DC, and we've talked a few things like that. What about the portion of like AMC? I know you're a huge Walking Dead fan. Myself, I stayed up to Alexandria. I loved how they started the series. Like, they did it really well. First show episode was very canon. Myself, I liked it, but they continued to migrate away from it. And for me, I'm a hardcore comic book fan of the actual physical novel, not the show. And I've been waiting for it to finish out. Now, for you, what would you say you would pick? Would you pick where the show is a little bit better, or would you pick where the novel is? What is your favorite pick?
I would take the graphic novel. I think Robert Kirkman's writing and his scribbles, I don't call them really drawings because really not good inking done there, but I would say the graphic novel over the television series any day of the week.
All right. Very nice. Now, where they're at right now in the show for The Walking Dead, do you think that they've taken a little too free liberal rights? Because now we have, like, a lot of missing characters from where the graphic novel is. Technically, Rick is supposed to live, spoiler alert for most people like watching and listening, is technically supposed to live to the very last comic book until, unfortunately Carl finds him. But now you have watched it, and I hear, like, technically Rick is gone, and, you have a lot of missing characters, and, obviously everyone will riot if Dale dies, but...
I really never liked Daryl as a character because they wrote him into the comic book, as we all know, because in the television shows. I really not like Daryl as the lead guy, but I guess he's doing a good job. It still plays for me. I kind of like Fear The Walking Dead better than The Walking Dead.
You've mentioned that several times, that it has a better story.
It has a better story. And I like the fact that they dropped a nuclear bomb, and it's a nuclear holocaust along with the dead. So it's like two kind of catastrophic things.
It's almost like a Fallout feel to it, in a sense.
It is a Fallout feel to it.
Very nice. So, let's mix it up a little bit.
Okay.
We've talked a few different things, and let's talk. I recently just watched Eternals, and myself, I was meh about it. I think that it was worth a watch. It was free. I didn't pay for it. I'm kind of glad that happened, but I was really happy with the ending, the little snippet about Star Fox. And I had to hit you up about it because I was just like, oh my gosh, he's Thanos' brother. What the hell? Why isn't this being talked about more? So, in your comic book knowledge, what do you feel? Do you feel Star Fox is a very interesting chapter in the stories with it?
Star Fox's other name is Eros, which is the Greek for the god of love. Eros is a kind of a playboy superhero that kind of likes to get with all the other superheroes.
So kind of like a Tony Stark of the universe, in a sense.
No, more like a pimp of the universe.
Oh, okay. Leroy Brown, we might call
like
him.
Leroy Brown, yeah.
Right.
So that part of Star Fox probably won't be seen in the MCU at all, but his strength is far surpasses Thanos's.
Okay.
Even though his size is smaller. Just remember, Star Fox was a member of West Coast Avengers and the Defenders. So he's been in the comic books for a long time. He's not a new character.
So his lore goes deep.
Deep.
Okay. Now, let's go ahead and talk about Endgame. We talk about pretty much Infinity War. What did you think about them versus comics? Do you think that they lived up to the legend? Do you think that they could have improved things? And if so, what do you think they could have improved?
No way, because the whole thing of Endgame and the two movies they portrayed had nothing to do with Thanos reading down the earth. It had something to do with Thanos wooing his girlfriend, Lady Death, who was also being wooed by Deadpool at the same time. So it had nothing to do with the comic book at all, and I hate to say I hated it for all you MC Universe guys out there.
Okay, so they fell a little bit far from the tree on that one, unfortunately.
They fell off the Golden Gate Bridge for that one.
Now, favorite Marvel film that's come out? Myself, I'm definitely, I dug the very beginning of, Guardians of the Galaxy. That was one of my faves. The second one was so-so. I think that they could have did it better. And of course, we watched Thor not too long ago where they played a cameo. But that's just my take. What about you?
I like I was talking to Buck Nasty about Thor. It's the first MCU universe that took a villain and gave him the correct backstory. I wouldn't say that's my favorite MCU movie, but the backstory of the villain was the most important part of any story, and they got it right there. So you can take that for what it goes.
Now, moving with that movie in general, Love and Thunder, which we all watched, for most people that haven't watched, we're going to run a spoiler real fast. And the very ending, like I got an outside source from a more of an different rounded opinion that said it was kind of childish. By the way, that was the Lopez effect.
Brother.
Yes, South City.
I think the slapstickness of it made it a little childish, but I think it added to Thor's character, because Thor's not a serious character in the comic book universe either. He's kind of a big child with a whole bunch of muscles.
And he comes across that. I have to admit, the actor plays him very well. We're watching his well-roundedness. He can be very intellectual, but at the same time, when he plays Thor, I feel like he very much invigorates that character that he's bringing to life, which is nice. Now, if you were to pick one person out of the Thor universe that you feel that has been brought to life the more comic book-esque, who would you pick? Loki, the dad? Who are we talking here?
No, I wouldn't take Odin, because Odin is all superior, and he would have been with Zeus there on Mount Olympus.
So you're crossing out Matt Damon and his acting skills.
Yeah,
and the last one of Love and Thunder, where they're reenacting everything.
Yeah,
okay.
because Odin in the Marvel universe is just as badass as Zeus, if not more badass. Loki is underplayed. Loki is a little more mischievous and would never go like to the good side, even though MCU wants to push his pretty face to a good guy and then a bad guy, because he's really a bad guy.
Okay. Who's the biggest and baddest out of the Marvel universe and the DC universe? So let's mix it up a little bit. We'll go ahead and start with DC, because we have been talking Marvel a little bit.
We're talking villains or superheroes? I mean, the good guys. The baby face or
how about we change it face? We'll go villains first, then superheroes, and we'll start with DC. So who do you think is the biggest and baddest for villains?
I would say Darkseid, because Darkseid can't die, or won't die, and Darkseid has like children that are just as badass as he, if not more badass, like Calabash and whatnot.
Okay, now let's go ahead and go with the biggest and baddest for superheroes in the DC.
Well, you got to go to the man in blue, Superman, because he doesn't really die either, and if he does die, they bring him back to life, so immortality goes a long way, and Superman is all strong. I mean, he can go
pretty iconic.
Yeah, he can go through the sun.
Okay.
But if you're asking me,
yes,
Sandman could probably beat Superman if he really wanted to.
And why is that? What does Sandman have that can make this happen?
Sandman can change reality.
So the fabrics of reality could be changed, morphed around him in order to make him
So he can make Superman, instead of vulnerable to kryptonite, he'd be vulnerable to tweet, and Superman would go away.
All right. So let's move and migrate to Marvel, and let's go ahead and start with the same thing. Biggest and baddest villain, then we'll go to superhero.
I would say Doctor Doom is the baddest, because really he doesn't have any power at all besides his mind, being so smart. And
Victor Von Doom.
when the good guys need help, they always ask Doctor Doom to help, because Doctor Doom can basically beat anyone. I mean, Doctor Doom against the Fantastic Four. Reed Richards is supposed to be the smartest man in the Marvel Universe, but he always beats them, or bests them.
All right. So who's the biggest and baddest for superhero-wise?
Well, just strength alone would be Hulk, but Silver Surfer could probably beat the Hulk if he really wanted to.
Now, see, I feel that Super Surfer is something that needs to come to life. I love the comics. I've loved, like, back in the day when we had the animations that would be out there, little shorties, but I feel like that is an underrated
But they
film.
did have a movie, Fantastic Four and the Silver Surfer. It was terrible.
But I mean, one dedicated just to him.
Yeah, I agree. I would say they should backdate all the other ones and like do what do you call it, a prelogue?
Like a prologue?
Yeah, prologue, and have Thanos as Galactus's herald, and then leaving, and Silver Surfer taking over for Galactus.
I think that would be a great idea. You should definitely start writing for Disney or Marvel.
Disney, if you're listening, I want credit for that.
So, if you're listening out there, Mouse, we have ideas. Hit us up. So let's go ahead and sway away from we talked comments, whatnot, and let's talk Star Wars. This is, by the way, go ahead and plug yourself. Evil Fett over here. Any cosplay he can bring to life. And obviously, I would like to take a guess that your favorite character in Star Wars is Boba Fett.
Boba Fett, okay.
Yes. So, I mean, how do you think of the series that have been coming out lately. Like, I mean, we're talking like the newer films.
The book of Boba Fett we're talking about?
I mean, anything at this point in time. We're just talking shop right
well,
now.
Me and Buck Nasty was talking about that earlier, and I think they really did the Laurel, you know, the Boba Fett bad. They made Boba Fett a real P-U-S-S-Y, yeah. Once he took the helmet off, the bucket, there's no more Boba Fett.
So they just completely took away the mystery, the man behind the
But
mask.
they made him a sissy too. They made him more of a conscientious objector than just an all-around badass.
And what was the scene that broke it for you, that made you just like throw in the towel?
You know the scene where there's like a group of kind of skateboarders, bikers, and they had like these flying kind of Vespas, and Boba Fett wouldn't have even dealt with them. He was just shot him and killed him. If I was writing the story, he wouldn't have befriended them. Or
It would have been like a few second thing, like they're talking shit, bam,
Boom,
bam,
boom,
down.
dead, yeah.
Not even like anything that they waste time on.
He wouldn't even have got to work up a sweat.
And I definitely do enjoy when shows do that, where they kind of feel like someone's talking shit, and out of nowhere they just put an end to it really fast. Now here's a good one. On a rating from -10 to +10, Captain Marvel, the movie, horrible. My opinion, I watched it, I was like, what the hell's going on here? I'm gonna rate that as a -7. But that's just me. What about you?
Maybe a -25.
Okay, it's off the scales, ladies and gentlemen.
Because people got to understand that wasn't Captain Marvel. That's like a 10th iteration of Captain Marvel, and they didn't even do that one right. I mean, there's Jean Devers, who was that Captain Marvel, but she doesn't even wear that suit. She wears like a black leotard with a Z. I mean, like a lightning bolt across it, and she's really sexy. And she got and then she lost the powers to Rogue because Rogue touched her and took her powers away. That's why Rogue flies, just in case you guys want to know why Rogue flies.
Fun factoid, all right. Now, I'm also going to tell you to be careful. There is some leftover gum, looks like, on top of there. So just be careful.
Oh, okay. I'll move.
No, you're good. I'm just going to zoom in on that. Look at that. Comic-Con. That's been there since 2019. But, so, we've talked a lot of fun stuff so far, and I think this is a nice little introduction for us to test out the stream and whatnot. But, Mike, if you can put closing words on this so I can charge this up, look at the video feed to make sure everything's going good. What would you say you wish to see in this Comic-Con, and what do you hope that they bring to life the most?
Well, I've been here so many times. There's nothing I really want to see. I'm just glad to spend the time with my 3 best friends.
You know what? And I agree. It's been a long time, and you know, this definitely is a dedication trip for a lot of us, for our friend Mark, that we were trying to get out here back in 2019. So, I mean, it's really fun that finally, after like 3 years, that they honored it. They rolled over our tickets. So, like, everyone, just gonna like let you know, in about hopefully about an hour or so, we should be going live. We'll be looking at the floor down below. So if you're watching this post-stream at this point in time, hit the subscribe or tune in. Get ready. Because we're going to be doing some pretty fun stuff. We're going to be walking around the hall, seeing what they have for preview night, and just drinking it in, really. There's going to be a lot of fun stuff. I mean, I can't wait to see the action figurines. I can't wait to drink in the environment, the cosplays that people are going. Now, with our first impression, me and Buff Nasty definitely agreed it seemed a little light. Like, there wasn't as many people as there normally is. And if that's the case, and you're tuning in from home, share this with a friend. Because at this point in time, let people see from the outside and be safe and see in the inside. It's free. You don't really have to pay for anything, and it's fun. So, I'm going to leave it at that, everyone. I really enjoyed this little snippet and Q&A with Mr. House. So, everyone, say bye to Mr. House.
Peace out.
And we will see you live.
Love, peace, and cosplay.
Yes, there we go. And follow Evil Fett for all the cooler cosplays from this young man. Later, everyone.